Hi guys, thanks so much for watching Speaking of Founders Mission. I'm Stephanie, and today I have Chris McSwain, who is the president, COO, and co-founder of ThinkX. So thank you so much for being here, Chris.
You're welcome.
And so tell me a little bit about ThinkX and why it's important to you. How did you get here?
Well, thank you for giving me a really broad question to jump in. I'd say I'm sort of, this time of my life, with the gray hair I have, I'm sort of battle tested and have seen a lot of action, so to speak. And I've been on all sides of leadership in a corporation, particularly large corporations. So I've hired people. I've had to acknowledge my hiring mistakes and let people go. Unfortunately, I've had to be on all sides of performance management and talent, trying to give encouragement but yet direct feedback. And I've also led some pretty large organizations in their areas of benefits. And our teams and I have been acknowledged for being innovative. And I would say we typically just listen to people far smarter than us and try to apply what we've learned from them. But even with the innovation and the accomplishments and the awards, and it's always the team's story to tell. I've been honored to do that many times. What I have sort of run into is a couple of issues that were always confusing to me. So for example, going back to leadership, how do you really know that you're making a good hiring decision? How do you know where to put somebody in a 9 box? How do you know who to promote? How do you know what projects to give the people? Many times you get that right. Often you don't. And a person's engagement and ultimately company performance is dependent upon how you make those choices. In the benefits world, we spend a lot of time solving for what I would call downstream issues, diabetes, heart disease, depression. I've always wondered about the people that we really couldn't reach as effectively, and what causes people to have some of the issues that were confounding to the entire healthcare industry in trying to get engagement. Why are some people more engaged than others? And then in 2016, I was introduced to this company. It had a different name at the time, and I saw a real core technology that was totally different than any technology and innovation that I had been exposed to before. And if we go with the metaphor of downstream symptoms, I would suggest this is the most upstream intervention that I've ever come across, because it really gets to the root source of what causes people every day to struggle, even you and I. And at the core, what ThinkX is a technology platform that allows us to discover what is holding us back, what defines our success, and then allow us to activate doing something about it. Well, the science, which is patented, the product, which is patented, goes all the way back to about 25 years ago. The originating founder of the technology that our company acquired spent the better part of his life, in my opinion, painstakingly completing research that developed a set of algorithms that we call thinking drivers. And he has developed an instrument, we call it a diagnostic tool, that in 10 minutes can measure 12 areas of how you think subconsciously. It is remarkably accurate. So basically, your brain has a lot of programs, a lot of neural pathways. So in 10 minutes, we can measure 12 of those that are connected back to business performance. So if we can reduce your stress drivers and increase your success drivers, then we're helping you achieve your maximum human potentials.
So all of that sounds incredibly amazing. And I love that you said that the technology was developed over decades through research, and then it really focuses on the person. And it's such a cool idea that it focuses on what you described as the upstream instead of the downstream, because a lot of times you are just treating the things that happen at the end that are a consequence really of all of these other things that led up to it. And ThinkX is able to then really address things at the root and allow people to live their best lives and perform at their best levels, which is so cool. So what else makes ThinkX unique in that way about how you use this technology and how you treat it, and then maybe help people once they know what personality profiles they have?
Well, let me just say, Stephanie, I really appreciate the way you phrase that, because it gives me a chance to make a comparison here. We are not a assessment company, and what we're measuring is something tremendously different than personality. We pass no judgment on all the other assessment companies that are out there. We think they're great. What we measure is very different. What we're measuring is at the subconscious level. And the other instruments that you're talking about are measuring behaviors. And this is a fundamental uniqueness to our technology. And it's rooted in this term called neuroplasticity. Basically, the brain can change. And we've known that for decades. But what we've tapped into and what makes us unique is that speed, accuracy, and personalization. So in 10 minutes, we can accurately measure how you're thinking in these 12 areas. But here's what makes us unique. These other tools that you would be aware of, they basically view people as static. So, they'll tell you pretty much this is who you are. They can teach you how to interact more effectively with other people, but they're not going to change your personality or other behaviors. They can teach you how to be a better leader, but sometimes that sticks and sometimes it doesn't. If you've gone through corporate training, it's sort of like peanut butter. Everybody gets the same spread. We believe people in their through neuroplasticity are malleable. We're a diagnostic tool, discovery. We're going to help you understand how you are today. You don't have to be that way. If you want to take some action to improve in one of the areas that we can identify for you, you're certainly able to use our coaching. Everything we do is personalized. So your profile is going to be different than mine. Your coaching would be different than mine. It's all personalized to you. So we can help a person have a better life, perform to their potential at home and at work and in their community. And we're, as you would imagine, very excited to help people, because many of the people in our company, our board and advisors, which have stellar experiences, they've all gone through what I've had. They've all seen the best of what they can do have partial benefit, but they've never experienced anything like this that can actually have lasting and material benefit. We don't know of anyone else that can really do this. Is that through my travels, connecting the intervention with business performance is one of the secret sauces of how we've gotten many of these innovations approved and accepted in these large corporations, is that we've thought like an operator, like a business professional. So we can take our audit report, and if any corporation gives us the KPIs for those individuals, we can give the C-suite, CFOs in particular, a pretty credible picture of the performance lost, the profit lost, the business performance lost because of the current state of their workforce. Now, we can also give them a picture of what their KPIs could look like after we've gone through the coaching that we can offer them. So we tell us what's important to you as a business metric. We can connect that to what we measure, and then we can connect our results and show you demonstrated business performance.
So it sounds like there's two ways that companies could use this in terms of the assessment. They could either, maybe initially give it to their groups to determine who is a top performer, but then it also sounds like they'd be able to use it to candidates and make sure that they're hiring in the right people.
Oh, absolutely. So if one of the things that we are capable of doing is creating a benchmark for any role, any company, any industry, any country that's English speaking. So the way your brain operates is not country specific. It's If you can read their English language of our questionnaire, then your results are consistent. So yes, if you give us 2 or 3 top performers, then, and we have case studies that can back this up, where we've been able to hire in at 90% or better confidence as to top performers. And we've actually followed people over a year to verify their connection of performance to business results. And we're very pleased about that. But, and here's to me, more of the good news is that for the workforce that you have, we have a study where we have measured their performance thinking, provided our coaching, and then measured their performance thinking again. And we can see the dramatic improvement in their overall performance thinking against our standards and our benchmark, of which we're also very pleased.
What's it like for the people when they take this? Do you see a, kind of a revolutionary shift in their own mind of once they realize what's been driving them all their lives, really? Is it just so surprising or exciting to them that they can find these new ways to do things and improve themselves?
Yes, we have plenty of examples like that. Often we find people not understanding before they've been gone through our profile and diagnostic tool. They don't understand what's driving the anxiety. And it's this combination of stress drivers that are occurring subconsciously. So what we often get are, this has changed my life. That can happen when a person has had the most number of performance drivers to work on. For someone that's doing pretty well, they typically will tell us that this nailed me, it's really great, but there's 1 or 2 areas I'd like to work on. So the need is relational to the amount of change that can be experienced.
The employees probably feel special because there aren't many times that an employer is trying to really relate to them as a human. Obviously, there are business results and reasons to do this, but it really is helping them as a human. And that has to just make them feel good inside that their employer's caring about them in that way.
I had a person many years ago help me understand the difference between doing things to people versus doing things for people. And I believe that the very consistent feedback that we have is that people understand that this is something we're doing for them. And it does help them get through issues that they had previously been holding them back. And so we have one example of a millennial leader who was about to get displaced, fired, totally not working out with his team. And the company asked us to come in and try to help this person, which we did. We showed them exactly where their performance thinking was and what was causing the friction between them and their team members. They went through our coaching, and even before they finished the coaching, they received a promotion. And then the supervisors of this person came in. They couldn't believe it was the same person. And their team members were now all working very successfully together. So there are very clear, and we have all this documented, very clear examples of how these interventions can occur. And they occur in a very short period of time. Even if you had, 7 drivers that you wanted to work on, you're looking at about 8 to 12 weeks worth of coaching.
Sounds like you're doing amazing things, but you're also incredibly efficient doing them.
Well, part of our brand promise is speed, accuracy, and personalization. So the diagnostic tool, what we call the PX12, it takes about 10 minutes to complete. We time you out at 20 minutes. And what we've worked very hard to do is to take something very complicated like neuroscience and make it simple and easy. Our graphs are so transparent and easy. We have dials to show you how you're doing, where you're at. The reports are all written very easy to understand. And, Stephanie, I would tell you that I fundamentally believe that people don't intend to walk in and underperform at work every day. I tend to believe in the very best of people at home and at work. And part of the genesis, I believe, at ThinkX is to help people understand that truth, to say, look, We just want to help you reach your potential. And we can do that simply. It's quick, it's accurate, and it's all about you. It's all personalized. And if you grew up and someone said, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, why did you get a B instead of an A, and you develop these stress drivers that we can measure. So you suddenly say, I'm not good enough. I've heard that. So it creates a belief that that becomes your thought that drives your behaviors and ultimately your actions and results. And you carry that with you through your whole life. There's a reason why most programming that exists in the healthcare industry has such low levels of utilization. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And we're not certainly saying this solves everybody's problem. However, if the resistance that is occurring in these downstream health interventions, I don't care how much money you spend, incentivize, you can give me 50 new programs, but if I'm skeptical, I'm not going to be engaged. But now, if we can help lower that degree of skepticism, then now it opens up this whole new arena of opportunity for me and my potential to have better health, both mental health and physical health.
So tell me, how does the coaching work? Because it's an amazing prospect that you could change people's neural pathways in 8 to 12 weeks and these things that they might have been doing for 30, 40, 50 years. How does it do that?
It's really simpler than you might suspect. We have developed different delivery methods. Some people are going to be more comfortable talking to an individual, so we have personal coaching. And then others will learn better in a group, so we have group coaching. And then what we're very pleased, because in many ways, this technology and the true science and innovation have a number of different applications in various market verticals. So we've created an automated solution. So that's the solution that we're just releasing that allows a very personalized interaction with our technology on your phone. So we're giving you prompts and reminders, messages, videos, text. We follow you along the way. We encourage you. We see what might be a stumbling block, and we try to help you through that. And our ultimate goal is to democratize this. We really want everyone to have their highest potential. And we believe that this technology is an enabler to that. It's not a silver bullet, as I've said, but it does provide a very unique application that, to our knowledge, does not exist elsewhere. There's a lot of people working in the fields of neuroscience, but the combination of measurement, the discovery, and then the activation through our coaching to reach your human potential, we think is a unique set of solutions that we provide.
I just can't get over how revolutionary that is to be able to rewind people's experience and neural pathways and create new ones. ThinkX is doing something different that nobody else is, as you've said, and focusing on the way that your brain's working and the way that you're wired. You're changing the way that they're thinking, which allows them to have continued performance improvement success. Thinking about it from a talent perspective, how does this help recruiting teams, and how much time does it take out of it, or other burden are they able to cut out from what a traditional model would be?
We eliminate a lot of the inconsistency and bias that exist in the processes of today. Let's be honest, in an interview situation, people are always on their best. So we're giving you somewhat of an x-ray picture of a person before you've even looked at a resume. We can tell you who's going to match up to your top performers, and we take that indecision or potential to get it wrong out. It's not perfect, but we greatly improve the potential for success with a science basis to it, and we provide a personalized interview guide for anybody that you want to interview. And these are cognitive-based questions. It's not uncommon for an applicant to say, how did you know to ask me that? That's not on my resume. And that's because what we look at is not on a resume. We never look at a resume. That's for the employer to be able to do. What we're telling you is who has the thinking patterns most aligned with people who are going to and have demonstrated top performance for you in any role, professional, blue collar, doesn't matter. Um, we can help with all of those. So we're giving you greater talent intelligence, and we are de-risking the recruiting process for you by giving you something that you can, put your head on the pillow at night and say, yes, I haven't, I've had the greatest opportunity, I should say, to provide a unbiased perspective of who's going to be great in this role without any denotion of those type of criteria.
The growth of the company has just been like a rocket ship. What do you think is contributing to this just massive interest and success of ThinkX right now?
Well, I'd say a couple of things. The first place I'd always start is the team. The people that we've assembled, they've all taken a look because either myself or somebody else asked them to, but they've either put their time and or their money into this because they've personally gone through what I've discussed with you. So it's their excitement and their vision for what they would like to see this company accomplish. By and large, everyone is here because we generally have seen other interventions and technologies in our past not be as successful. And we believe that what we have is going to solve some problems that others have not been able to. And we are really thrilled to be able to help people and do well by doing good. I think the delivery of our new technology platform and user interface, um, everything seems to take twice as long and cost twice as much, but I'm believing it's going to be twice as good as we expected it to from the beginning. And we've been very pleased. We're seeing high levels of excitement and adoption, and we just are now at the point of really releasing our story. We've just been working as hard as people can to see what we've discussed created and really ready for a strong launch in the marketplace. And that's what we're in the middle of doing now through our sales organization, is standing up a number of market verticals and working with introducing this top technology to the people that know us from other experiences, and they're excited, and we're seeing their adoption of our technology at a rate that we're very excited about.
I'm not surprised at all because you have had such an amazing career. And I mean, first of all, so many of the things that stand out to me, I've written down, a million different things that you said during our previous chat. But, you talked about making a difference in people's lives, which ThinkX is obviously doing. And, at some of your other companies, changing the culture through benefits, but like changing the culture and hiring people smarter than you and making positive changes. And all of these things that happened at previous companies are wrapped into everything you're doing right now at ThinkX.
It's an interesting journey, and I have come through a career track of working for very large corporations, and been rewarded for that, mainly by the people that I've worked with, and we've all been. I say this quite honestly, but humbly, is that we're all just very ordinary people that have come together and accomplish some extraordinary things that others look at and have celebrated. I'm just happy to be a part of it and to have, supported the teams that have worked very hard to see great things happen.
You have, and you said before, that you work in stealth mode and to get things done, and that a lot of the way that you gauge success is what happens after you're gone. And so tell me what it means to you to be working in stealth mode to make those impacts.
Well, I have found that people in the senior most positions in companies typically get there because they have been pretty effective at managing risk. And sometimes they manage risk by saying no to a lot, and they accompany themselves with groups that are also capable of saying no, perhaps like legal or compliance or IT. And to win their confidence, what I have found most helpful is to demonstrate that we're not just operating haphazardly. So I always create a 5-year plan. It's always different wherever I have gone, because the resources are different, the problems are different, so the solutions are going to be a little bit different. The cultures are different. So you have to take all that into account. So once you've explained to people what's in the 5-year plan, and people typically look at that and they understand a fraction of it, but what they don't understand, I have a fairly good ability of explaining, so they have a confidence that I understand it, and so they allow me the opportunity to go out and start working on it. And then because we are pretty disciplined and focused on what's going to happen first and next, etc., we get a lot done very quickly. So I call it the stealth mode, but we honestly just get so much done so quickly that at the time that I'm expected to provide feedback, we're well capable and positioned of coming up from that stealth mode and providing affirming information that makes it clear we're on track, if not ahead of track of the plan. So, for example, there was one company I worked at, and I walked into the executive room presentation, and I had this black bag, and it was heavy. It weighed, over 20 pounds. And I gave it to my boss and said, I'd like you to take a walk around the boardroom table and then hand it to the next executive, and then the next executive, etc. And they all looked at me, and I said, yeah, I really do ask you to do this. I'll explain why later. So when we all got back around the table, we had a little bit of a laugh about it. And then later in the presentation, I explained, well, the weight in that bag is the average weight that our employees are overweight. And that's what wears on their knees and backs. That's why our musculoskeletal costs are so high. That's why I've asked for all these resources related to wellness, so we can get the culture change, the weight reduced, so we reduce the wear and tear on our employees. They all understood what they carried around that table and could relate to it. So then it just builds a little confidence and trust that we know what we're doing, and they get behind that.
How do you come up with the ideas? Are you able to think outside of the box in those ways that make it so tangible for people?
I have historically found myself surrounded by people who do, really incredible, iconic people in the industry. Everybody from Jack Mahoney, Wayne Burton, Pam Hymel, Ron Lepke. I know I'd be leaving like 4 or 5 other iconic people out, but those are the great examples. And I would just listen to these folks and take a lot of notes. I'm a pretty good reader, and I read what others have done, and I study what they've done and where I think we can make it better. And the other thing that I would say that how I come up with this is I have a people-centric sort of mindset. So I sort of put the person in the middle and solve for them. So I try to get into a day in their life. I've not done any ethnographic studies, but I have watched those studies, and you get a chance to really understand what it's like in the life of a person. And I've told senior executives before, sometimes the biggest thing in that person's day is going to be coming up and shaking your hand. And just because they're smiling and they're laughing at your jokes and you have a good interaction doesn't mean that they're smiling on the inside. And I know that to be true because of all the healthcare data that we have, and that sort of makes it clear. So I've known all along that people are suffering, often in silence. And these are the folks that we have previously walked into our workplaces, that we interact with at breaks. Our family members will sometimes suffer in silence. And that's what had me so excited in 2016 when I saw the PX12 for the first time, because it began to give me a credible science-based picture of what is likely going on inside that person's mind. That's which contributes to their feelings, behaviors, and then ultimately actions. So if I could help them there in that upstream intervention have better thought patterns, then they're ultimately everything that flows out of that is going to be better for those people. And again, I don't suggest we solve all the problems that are present, but I do believe we're going to make an impact and are making an impact for the people that we serve.
What about the way that you grew up, or the way that, things that happened in your life led to your interest in really focusing on the person and helping them and putting them at the center of everything that you do?
Well, that's a great question. There was a company, Scana, a utility company that I had the privilege of serving, and we created something that received a lot of awards. It was an on-site pharmacy that was tightly integrated with well-being and EAP. And there was one day that, and it received dramatic success from the employees. We didn't even raise premiums for 3 years because we frankly pulled so much waste out of the system. We were doing, better than $4 generics years before Walmart, which is sort of ironic because I ended up at Walmart. There was one day that my team came and got me and said that they wanted, there was somebody who wanted to see me. And okay, I'll go see anybody. So I go in there, and I've never met this woman before. And she said that they wanted to see the person that had thought all this stuff up. And then she told her story about how engaging with what we had created in this very integrated set of services helped change her life through the pharmacist that we employed, the well-being coach that we had, and the EAP counselor. That she really took advantage of everything that was there. And to me, nothing's more powerful than a testimony. So if you've seen something that you've done change a person's life, you're never quite the same. And so I've been impacted by that. I've known that the needs are many and that often the resources are few. And I've tried to challenge myself to take what's available and do the most with it. I have found the greatest success whenever we do that from the mindset of the employee and get them involved. And this really played out materially both at Whirlpool and Walmart, where, as I said earlier, the answers are not in the office, they're in the field. So we went out and talked to associates, and we created programming there that literally created a movement at Walmart in the well-being area, which continues to exist today. And to your comment about success, I have, I got coached one time by one of those medical directors that I had such high regard for. And they asked me, Chris, one of the patterns that I've seen is that when good people do, great things at a particular company and then they leave, that often those interventions are not retained. And actually, he suggested to me that a measure of success, he goes, you're going to go to other places. A measure of your success would best be viewed as what have you left that's still there today. So it's really nice for people that I've worked with previously to call me from time to time, as they do, and explain to me what's still in place today and how they've made it better. That's even more important to me. So making change, not just for change's sake to generate a financial outcome, it's to help change a culture. Those are, to me, probably the greatest accomplishments, is actually seeing the culture of a company change so that they understand the value of the people they employ and the value of investing in them and believing that their best potential is ahead of them.
I think all of that, everything about you makes perfect sense for how you ended up as part of ThinkX, because it just seems to encompass so many of the values that you have: improving the performance at work and, driving business goals, but really focusing on the person and what they need and what's going to make them fulfilled and happy and transformational. You do amazing things and are incredibly humble. And it was such a pleasure talking to you. I loved hearing about ThinkX and about you and what makes you you. So thank you so much, Chris, for being on Speaking of Founders Mission.
Oh, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. You're terrific, and I can't wait to get to know you better over time.
Thank you guys for watching. Bye.